Lovely. Okay, so I'll stick it to, we've got the pin me. All right. Okay. All right. So everybody's good. All right. So thank you for joining me today. Really excited to have you here. Actually really excited about this topic, simply because it's something that I've been affected by a lot, gut health. I think ordinarily we think of gut health as constipation or, bloating, things like that. But there's been a lot of progress and a lot of discoveries in science that actually gut health affects how we deal with stress and our emotions and anxiety. And basically, it's working with your gut and your brain are working together. So if you have a sick gut, which looks like, constipation, getting sick quite often, then you're going to have, there's a possibility that you're going to have a sick brain. And that means, difficulties with stress, anxiety, but also is mental health issues that might need sort of serious intervention, such as antidepressants. And that's something that a lot of people haven't really seen as a connection. And even modern science today doesn't really recognize it as much as it is. But I think in the next 5 years, if you're looking at that, then you'll see a big difference. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, and I hope you will be able to see it. Just let me know when you can see it. Share screen. Okay. All right. Can everybody see that? Okay. Can you see? Nope. How about now? Perfect. Okay, great. All right. So gut health is about today. I'm going to keep it till about 30 minutes. I don't want to keep your... Oops, why is it not working? Oops, sorry, sorry, everybody. This is why is it's not working. There we go. Okay, so I'll keep it as succinct as possible. Respect your time and your energy. I don't want to go over time. Also, I'll, if you've got questions, then keep them to the end, or just book a free call with me, and I'm happy to give you any guidance that you need. Play full out. You've invested your time, and I know how important that time is. Time is money. So, if there's something that I ask and it speaks to you, then, please participate and be honest with yourself and me. Now, we're talking about gut health, which is a bit sensitive, so I won't be asking too many questions, but maybe for yourself, you can ask those questions for yourself and just take a note. Awareness is part of every transformation. And then at the end, I'll tell you, if you would like to work together specifically on an issue or issues, then we can work together. Okay, so right now, energy reset is basically a lot of people are going through these issues, and there's, even though we think of energy about food and things like that, it's a lot deeper than that, and there's a lot more we can do other than just actually look at what we're eating. So right now, a lot of people that I work with are dealing with things like fatigue, mood swings, insomnia, physical and mental fatigue, indecision, procrastination, and just not being able to settle, and things like that. And that's all to do with, well, I say all to do, there's a lot of contribution from the amount of energy you have, because when you have a lot of energy, you are in flow and things just work a lot easier for you. So so where you would like to be, most people, is just high energy and emotional stability. Your emotions is what often directs you. It is what makes you do what you want to do. I know as a business owner, particularly if you're struggling with low energy, then it's really hard for you to actually show up on social media or show up if you've got meetings with people and give them all your energy, because it's simply not there. The tank is empty. So does that resemble anything that anybody's had? Maybe you can relate. Okay, so the model that we work on is the whole energy, or the body reset, is a 3-phase model. There's 3 core parts to it. And traditionally, nutrition, I'm a nutritionist, but traditionally we've thought about food as just about what you eat and what's on your plate. But I believe that health is a lot more than that. And you'll see today as well, and one, if you do come into our program, I'll explain to you a little bit more, but about how the microbiome and the gut health actually is so indicative of your health and is so impactful. So today we're going to talk a little bit about not as much intelligent nutrition, because I think a lot of people probably know that you need to eat fibers and vegetables. But I'm going to talk a little bit about mind management, and a little bit also, and then you can explore it your own. And something might just come up as an aha moment, and that's great. But this is the main model that we work on. My promise to you is, I want to give you some really simple, actionable steps to help you work smarter, not harder. I don't believe in doing hard work for the sake of it. I think there's a lot of shortcuts that we're missing, and I want to try and empower them to you. So why is gut health essential? I'm going to discuss that. Essential for optimal health, which means, translates to the workspace as making really good decisions, being confident, speaking up with your boss, going for that promotion. When you've got really, when you're struggling with your energy, it's difficult to show up. But also, is it from a business owner's point of view? If any of you are business owners, I'm sure you're aware that when you're low energy, showing up and doing the work, especially if you're a sole trader, if you're sole on your own, is quite taxing. Can anybody relate? Right. Yeah. And then I want to go on about what it actually looks like. So yes, it looks like, low energy. But I think a lot of people, like I explained before, is a lot of people think gut health is, it's about constipation, but it's about so much more. And I want you to sort of change or think about it a little bit bigger, in that it's all about as well anxiety and depression. And that has a massive impact on the gut, and the gut has a massive impact on if you are diagnosed with depression and anxiety. So think about that. When it's a brain issue, it's not always a brain issue, it can be a gut issue. And the same is if you've got constipation and bloating, that might not just be a gut issue, but a brain issue or a mind issue. Maybe you'll get stress. And then I want to talk about some of the causes for it. So stress, anxiety is a massive component of the cause, but also, overuse of antidepressants, having toxic foods and sugars. That, a lot of these foods that we eat in the supermarket now are not real foods. And manufacturers who are very greedy have hiding behind these claims that they've got these marks on them. And I thought perhaps is if you can just be a little bit more aware of what you're eating, and just look for food that actually looks like real food that comes from the earth, rather than something that looks, like it's been shaped like a dinosaur or whatever. And then I want to give you 3 strategies that you can use just to improve that. There's a lot that I can do. Like I said, I could talk about this forever, but I respect your time. And I'm just going to give you 3 really simple, actionable steps that you can take. And if one of them, I hope, will speak to you, then, let's make an action plan. Let's make your time here worthwhile. So why is gut health so important? So like I said, it determines your energy. But there's a few interesting statistics as well is that you might want to look at. Now, my background's in human physiology, and back when I was studying, gut health was actually in its infancy. But now, what we know now is that 20% of your gut, of your brain, of your nerves, is actually wrapped tightly around your gut. And this is called the enteric nervous system. And what happens is when you're actually dealing with something that's in your brain, it's obviously felt by your gut. So a lot of time, people that are constipated, it's not necessarily a gut issue, it's a brain issue. It's because maybe they're stressed, they're anxious. And because that your brain sends that signal to your nerves in your gut that, you're stressed, it's not safe to let go, then that helps. Then that's how it responds. So your gut has its own brain, and it's called the second brain. And it's got more nerve fibers, more nerve endings than your spinal column. So just to give you an idea of how enormous this is, and we're only just touching science, modern science is only just touching it. But your gut's obviously responsible for 95% of serotonin. Now, serotonin, if you're not familiar with that, is the principal neurotransmitter that people prescribe when you go to the doctors, right? So if you're low on 5-HT, which is serotonin, then the doctors will give you a prescription for Prozac or something similar. Prozac works by actually working as serotonin, by increasing your serotonin levels. The root cause is low serotonin. Low serotonin is caused by something that's going on in your gut. So by addressing the gut issues, then you can address the serotonin issues. And if somebody has a likelihood of being depressed, then there's a lot easier way for you to actually look at your serotonin levels and increase your mood and everything, rather than just by getting a pill. And the pills work great for a while, but eventually, it's nice to look at what your body can do itself. And dopamine, I'm sure you've heard all about dopamine. Dopamine is known as the happiness drug, and it's what we all chase. It could be chasing it in alcohol, it could be chasing it in sugar, we could be chasing it in gambling. But we're all looking for a dopamine hit. Our brain loves dopamine. We have lots of it naturally, and we can produce that, and there's techniques and tools that we use already to do that. But if you don't have the equipment to produce dopamine, or the equipment is faulty or malfunctioning, you can't produce the dopamine. And what happens then is people start getting really sad. What happens then is people can't get the natural highs of dopamine, so they chase things like sugar, alcohol, things like that, because they're not getting the natural dopamine highs, because dopamine is in short supply in their brain. 80% of your immune system is wrapped tightly is produced by your cells, so your antibodies. If your gut is not functioning properly, then your immune system blow. And this looks like, having been sick. I know from my own standpoint, I was sick constantly, and it was because I had a very low immune system, because my gut wasn't functioning. My gut didn't produce the right antibodies to fight off infection. And it also, a lot of people women more so than men are affected by guts, but it's still pretty significant. And there's also been lots of studies in that having a better biome, which is your gut bacteria, but also a better health in your gut, increases your performance. And it also increases your resilience to stress as well. So just having that, thinking about your gut a little bit differently, if I can just help you sort of think about your gut a little bit differently, and your brain, and think about them together, then that'd be nice just to impress that on you today to help you go forward. So my story, I don't want to go over this too long, but I was relying significantly on laxatives from the age of 8, and doctors had sort of given me lots of things. But also I started taking, once I was old enough to take antidepressants, and I really strongly believe that could have been prevented if I'd looked more at the root cause and my gut health. So again, just impress that thinking onto you. Unhealthy gut, what it looks like. We normally think about constipation, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, and that's just what we can actually see. So fatigue, food intolerances, weight issues. When your gut is stressed, when you've got digestive stress, your body, no matter what you do, will not release stress because it's in survival mode. Skin problems. So generally, any skin issues that you have are a reflection of what's going on in your gut. Sore joints. A lot of people are struggling with sore joints, and that's simply because of gut health. Autoimmune disorders, which we're seeing autoimmune disorders go through the roof, and that has a strong correlation with gut health, I believe. There's so many different reasons, but what I just want you to think is just think a little bit different. Does anybody find this valuable? Yeah, okay. Great. I don't want to go on about it too much. But what does it mean for your health and your performance at work, which is what is really important, or your performance in your business? You know, if you've got an unhealthy gut, reduced energy, you know what reduced energy is, but it's the increased errors, the reduction of productivity, not feeling like you want to do something, not wanting to get out of bed to do this business or do this career that you love, have significant impacts. And it can be really painful. Just having that reduced confidence can be really painful in you going forward and making those decisions. And healthy gut, you know, yes, bowel movements, that's one big thing. But about bowel movements, which we don't like to talk about, is a really important thing. It's like taking the rubbish out every day. If you don't take the rubbish out, your house will get stinky or your bin will get stinky. And it's a natural detoxification of your body. So when you're actually having a bowel movement, it produces an exfoliation of your epithelial cells of your intestine. If you're not getting that on a daily basis, that means that you're still walking around with toxins from the previous day. So just want you to think about that again. If you're not getting a daily excretion, then those toxins are still staying there. And those toxins can be from, you know, from byproducts of metabolism, from poor food, from alcohol, from all those things. You're basically carrying them into your next day. We don't like to talk about these things, but it's a part and parcel. It's so important to have a gut, to have a healthy gut, and to have that excretion every day. You know, also, you know, skin, it looks like good skin, but having loads of energy, being able to move your body. People don't always exercise, but one of the reasons is if you're constipated, it's really hard to actually go for a run because you're feeling heavier, you're sluggish. And then, you know, for your and then in terms of performance at work is that it's not easy for you to do your job, your communication, but once you've got those things in place, your communication is much better. You feel more confident in yourself. There's a strong correlation as well between confidence and actually and freedom with going to the bathroom. I mean, it's a really simple thing and you would never have thought, but it's something that is so impactful on your body. So where are you now? I'm not going to ask this question. I'm definitely not going to ask the question. But I want you to just think about it. It's not even just constipation, even if you don't have constipation, which I'm sure you probably don't. But I did, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. I had a very extremely low mood. I felt heavy every time I went to the gym. I struggled to lose weight. So I carried a lot of excess weight. I mean, I say a lot. It was about 15 kilos, but for me, it was a lot of weight. I was really bloated. So I actually remember a time I was in university, so highly stressed. And I went abroad overseas and I couldn't, there was no bathroom movement for the whole week. And I was 2 sizes different inside. I couldn't even get my jeans over my tummy. So, you know, all these things is just these little tiny things, but see what your body's always talking to you. So headaches, anything that you think, just think about that. If maybe it could be connected. For some of the causes, top cause is sleep, and that's simply because if you don't sleep, your body interprets that as stress. So your brain is still, you know, part of your brain is still age old, and it still interprets that sleep stress, that lack of sleep, that there's a reason why you're not sleeping. It could be you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, whatever it is. So it actually doesn't feel safe enough to let go. So that's like number one. Alcohol kills your gut bacteria. And there's a reason why we use hand sanitizer, which is, you know, has a lot of alcohol in it to kill bacteria on our hands. That same alcohol is in, you know, vodka and wine. I love wine. But just moderate that, you know, be a little bit more mindful. If you're going to have it with food so that can dilute the potency of it. And gluten. This is something that I think a lot of people underestimate, but gluten is no longer the same molecule as what it was 300 or 400 years ago. Our bodies evolved, our guts evolved, and so has the gluten. It's very engineered now. So having a little bit of mindfulness or just being aware of that. And also antibiotics and anxiety and hand sanitizer. If you really have got to use hand sanitizer, use it and then wash your hands, or just wash your hands. There's been a rise in gut health issues since COVID, simply because of the use of hand sanitizer. You put it on your hands and then, you eat your dinner and then you put it into your mouth. So you're literally eating the hand sanitizer, which is it's created to kill bacteria, right? That's its genesis. So it makes absolute sense that what kills the bacteria in your body. And again, we're still using hand sanitizer. So just being a little bit more mindful. And stress. So this is something that I think a lot of people, again, like I said, just need to think about. Stress in the morning, particularly. Set yourself up for a stress-free morning. Like, that's really, if you can do that, your bowel issues will be, even just 1% better. So strategy 1 is getting some rest to your gut. And I want you to think about it as like a reset. And this is just something like having light meals. Think about your gut as like your gut is functioning for most of us a lot of the time. And when you consider that, 80% of your immune system is in there, your nerves wrapped tightly around there, like it literally doesn't switch off. So it needs a little bit of instruction from you. And this comes in the form of nighttime. You need to let it rest. Modern diet is generally, we don't have the time to eat until the evening. So we have these really carb heavy meals at night. And this puts a massive load on your body and your gut. Your gut has been functioning all day and it's ready for a break. And what you're doing is you're saying, okay, yeah, you've got saying, yeah, I'm ready for a break now. And you're like, hey, hang on, I want to throw more at you. What's amazing is that some people actually throw more food at their body in the evening when it's highly sensitive than what they do for the rest of the day, just because they simply haven't, scheduled the time. What that does is it sends your body into distress. Your gut is highly distressed, and because it's so important in so many different roles of your body, such as your mental health, that everything starts to turn. Your body then says, okay, well, I'll do that. But then when it comes to bedtime, it has a choice to make. Does it digest your food or does it take you to sleep? And it can't do both. So something has to come, something has to sacrifice, someone has to give. So just think of your evening meal as basically a healing meal. Is that's for you to set your brain and set your mind to go to rest, like restarting your computer, turn your computer off for the rest of the night. Starting thinking about your meal. Fasting, it's called breakfast for a reason, right? It's breaking fast. But most people, if they're not going to bed until 11 o'clock, they might not eat their meal until 9 o'clock. There's no fast. It's still working. Oops. Sorry. So something really light. I'm sure you've heard of, that whole idea, which is something that I teach in the Body Reset, but it's about eating like a king for breakfast and a pauper for dinner. And it's just working with your body rather than against it. Most of us work against it. And then when we don't get what we want out of it, we complain. Well, if you had anything, you've got to take care of it. If you take care of your body will support you. Strategy number 2 is a morning ritual. So this has been something that is important for a lot of people, particularly people that I see in really highly stressful roles, business owners that are just basically switched on from the minute they get up. Is when your brain is on, your gut feels not safe. And so what it does, I put it down to, I'll show you. It's like a sausage. And your intestines is the sausage, And the minute it starts feeling stressed, those nerves around it, those muscles around it start tightening up because your body doesn't want to let go. Again, using that analogy of the saber-toothed tiger, you're being chased. It's not safe for you to go and have a poo. So it keeps thinking, okay, I'm going to hold on, I'm going to hold on, I'm going to hold on. But what happens is for high functioning individuals or people that have got really active lifestyles, they don't give it the chance to actually relax. So your brain's thinking, I'm stressed all the time. I just am not safe to go to the bathroom. This then leads to, a backup. It leads to stress. It leads to bloating. It leads to all these issues. But also it means that the next day it's going to be more painful for you to go to the bathroom. And it just becomes this vicious cycle. So my suggestion would be is to do a few deep breaths. It sounds archaic, but it's actually not. And we're seeing more and more now in medicine, they're actually coming back to the simple stuff. Your brain your nervous system has two branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is your stress response. And parasympathetic is your rest response. You need to, by activating your breath, by deep breathing through your nose, you'll notice the shift is that what happens is it tells your brain that it can relax and let go. So by just doing a few nasal breaths every day when you wake up, if you're wanting to go to the toilet, then do it. Set yourself a time and actually schedule it. A lot of people I see is what they do is they expect their body to come knocking at the door and say, okay, it's time for the bathroom. No. Some bodies will do that, but that's not always the case. And it's not the case, especially with women. We've got kids, we've got all these things going on. We haven't got that little knock, because my priority, I know, in the morning is not going to the bathroom. It's to get my kids to school, or it's get my kids fed. So we have to schedule this time and make it a ritual. So it could be you getting up maybe 15 minutes earlier than the rest of the house to have that moment to breathe and to, just move your body. So like I said, I put it down to a sausage, but I want you to think differently about your gut and think about your intestine, as in if it was, if it's so stressed and so tightly wound, it won't let go. So as much as I don't want to do this, I want to impress on you that it's your job, that you have to, when you wake up in the morning, is you have to let your body actually feel as though it's safe and feel as though it's not stressed. So this looks like not looking at social media, not looking at your, never-ending to-do list, not looking at your emails. Because once you do that, it plunges your body into stress. The cortisol levels go up even higher than what they already are. And then you get problems. And the third strategy, and this is not for everybody, but I think, well, I know you will definitely see an improvement, not only in your in how you bathroom and things like that, but in terms of energy, sore joints, autoimmune diseases, bloating. And this is gluten. So gluten, I use that pink hand for a gun, because gluten is like a gun to your intestines. So imagine you've got, your intestines or a piece of paper, and you're basically pistol firing holes at the intestines. And this is what gluten does. It makes holes in the intestines, and so things get through it that shouldn't. What does this mean for you? It means that food that is meant to actually be, it doesn't belong in the blood system. It doesn't belong in the bloodstream. Food ends up in the bloodstream. And this is a problem, because when your immune system sees food in the bloodstream, it doesn't know what it is. So it assumes it's a pathogen, and it starts launching an attack. This ends up being autoimmune diseases such as arthritis. You'll feel sore joints, blemishes on your face, and that's just the beginning. So I want you to really just think about, imagine that is how you can, taking out gluten completely is difficult, but just reducing it. Instead of you having, toast for breakfast, think about having an egg for breakfast with this little side of toast. I tell my clients that they should, change their thinking or train their thinking, in that carbohydrates is more of like a sauce or a side dish, or think of it as like ketchup. It's just a very small portion if you really need it. And having that, eventually you'll start to replace it. Because once a gut becomes unhealthy, it's a lot harder to get it back to normal. And once you get those gluten particles in your blood, it's really hard. So, we think about bad food as donuts and stuff like that, but it can be even extended to things like cornflakes. So be aware of what you're eating, basically, and just be aware how, maybe change the ratio. Think about protein and greens first, and then the carbohydrates is a side. So it's like a sauce. Or and your homework. So we've come to the end of this, but has anybody found it valuable at all? No? Okay, well, hopefully have found some of it valuable. um, I would love to know, be a bit aware of how much gluten you're eating per day. So gluten is bread, pasta, cornflakes, cereals, pizza. Have a think about how much gluten you're actually eating in a day. And I want you to think about that analogy of the gun. If those particles of gluten are bullets, is that actually, is it cultivating the integrity of your gut, or is it actually making holes in it? And maybe find, another part of the homework is find 3 ways you can replace gluten. So it's not necessary to go and get all the gluten-free foods from the shops, because they're often very processed. And again, it's the big marketers trying to make money off you. Instead, think about things that are, just you don't really need that much things like bread, but bread, you can get some whole breads from some nice gluten-free bakeries. But even just go for foods like, if you want carbohydrates, go for potatoes, things that don't contain gluten. And awareness. So if you want, and I'll send this to the group afterwards in the mail, is think about how food makes you feel. So food is information for your body. Your body is always analyzing information about your environment. And it does that through different senses, but it also does that through your gut. So when you put food in your body starts to make sense of it. So if it's not sensible for your body, or if you've got an intolerance, then start to note that down, because not everybody's bio-individual. What works for some people doesn't work for another person. So whilst any diet will say, oh, don't do this and do this, it's you. And I want you to remember that you are the advocate for you. Nobody else, no nutritionist, doesn't matter how many letters you've got after your name, is that it's all about you actually experimenting and taking note of what's going on. One of the magic ways what we have in the body reset is we have an actual it's like an Instagram for your food, and that's uses your lifestyle journal. So what you do is you Instagram all your food, and it goes to me through an app called Everfit. And then what we do is we look at it and see how you're feeling. So if you have your lunch, you take a snap of it, you send it to me, and you tell me how you felt. So if that bowl of pasta made you feel really bloated and sick, you can see it most of the time yourself, but sometimes you need an objective opinion. So that's what I come in. But also we have a really simple strategy that you step to. So I help you keep on track with that. I'll send you a sheet that you can track your food and your moods. If you want to see what it looks like to work with me on the Body Reset, then like I said, at the minute we've got a special offer. We start on the 1st of July, and it's a bit of a steal. So, but I'll disclose that later. But yeah, having awareness around what makes you tick. I know for me, I'm Pakistani, and so my gut bacteria is very different from what people who've grown up in Australia, right? So I have to respect that. My gut bacteria will not tolerate certain kinds of foods. Also, you know, there's lots of things that come into it. So just having that awareness, you know, take pen to paper and just write down how food makes you feel, so that once you've got that, you can make informed decisions. I know that wine doesn't make me feel good, but at least I can make a decision, and I know what I'm going to sacrifice. Sugar makes me feel high, and you know, it can crash my whole day. So I know that if I'm going to eat something, then there's a chance I'm going to lose the rest of the day. I'm not saying I'm not going to do it every time, but at least I make an informed decision. So I just want to empower you to with this, and it's so powerful. So has anybody found, have you found, hope you found some, what did you find most valuable out of that? Anybody want to speak?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, of course.
I had that was really, really fascinating because I had no idea that most of our gut issue had a lot to do with everything, the way we perform, our mental health, and possibly our